We are now live on Real Estate 101 with, today, Mayor McFarland. He's my best friend. Shane McFarland, thank you for coming over here. Let's give him a big round of applause, everybody, in front of a live studio audience. So if you get on here, please like, comment, and share the stream. Thank you for coming on here, buddy.
No, my pleasure.
I do have some questions for you.
Sure.
Every Wednesday, it's usually me and AKA the Weatherman. Every Wednesday, 1 o'clock, we do Real Estate 101. Our objective is to become your #1 source for digital real estate content. So today, we've got a guy that is maybe one of the best home builders in our town. All of Middle Tennessee. I mean, I've had people that have interviewed him to build their house, and they have talked about the way you present bids, the way you present your product is hands down the best they've dealt with. So I have heard from several sources that you are one of the best home builders to work with. Jimmy Turner, what's up? Do you know Jimmy Turner, an attorney here in town?
I do. Hey, Jimmy.
He works out with us. So I've got one question, and I know we don't have a lot of time with you because you've got to get on to better things today, but a lot of people like to complain and say things because they think the mayor can do just about anything. What exactly is the job of our city mayor?
Well, I would equate it to being the chairman of a bank. You know, we have a city manager who's the president. The city manager runs day-to-day operations. There's 1,100 employees, 875 full-time employees in the city. And then there's only 3 people that really the council has the ability to hire and fire: city manager, city attorney, and the city judge. Mm-hmm. And, now I'm not going to say that as mayor I don't have input to really try to guide things in a direction that the council would like to see those directions go. But I mean, really, if we're involved as a council in day-to-day operations, then that means things are not going well. So I really am. We handle more big picture things and really try to make sure that the direction that we want to see the city go, that the staff follows that direction.
So I've had some questions. I posted this on my Facebook, and there's some crazy ass questions that have flown in here. Like Kira Sloan, she wants to know if you could do something about her neighbors who have a backyard. Hey, this is your brother's old house, by the way, where she lives now. Their pool doesn't get used except by the mosquitoes as a breeding ground. Is there anything you could do about that?
Yeah, email me, smcfarland.
Can you really, or are you just trying to be nice?
No, I mean, yeah.
What could you do about that?
smcfarland@murfreesboro.tn.gov.
Why would you want to take on something so small?
Well, that's my job.
To take on a project in a neighborhood, shouldn't the neighborhood do something about this?
No, I mean, we have codes in place that if pools aren't being used, if there's safety, and I know I helped a lady a while back who'd gotten a bunch of fines that her during the recession her pool had not been maintained. It turned green. It wasn't used. She didn't drain it, and she got fined quite a bit. She ended up losing the house, and so we worked with her to try to mitigate some of those fines. But yeah, there's codes in place if people aren't maintaining their
I never would have guessed that, and if you want to give your information out, I didn't mean to interrupt, but how can they send these type of things?
smcfarland@murfreesboro.tn.gov. You can always Facebook me or send me a direct message on Twitter. I mean, that's my job. I mean, if what's this in with your customers or in real estate or whether it's government, what's a small thing to me is a huge thing to someone else. And whatever Kira dealing with the pool next to her, that's important to her at this moment. So that's
well, I don't think she thought she would get your attention on there. I'm surprised.
He may not go out there, but you got people in place.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you.
That's what our job is to do.
Well, I would think you've got too many busy things going on. But hey, I appreciate you answering that. Chris Oxer, a good friend of mine. Hey, I don't know how much Chris loves growth around here. Why would development in crowded areas of the city continue knowing the traffic issues? His questions confusing me. Traffic issues, and why aren't the builders and developers more financially responsible for the roads and access to these new construction areas? Traffic is bad, roads are bad, and we still continue to build and overcrowd.
I think it's That's a good question. I will tell you that the majority of the roads that are built here that are not your major roads, which most of our major roads are all state roads that we don't have anything to do with, we try to help push those. I mean, it took us forever with the help of our state to be able to get 99 under construction to widen. But, I mean, most of the roads that are built in this community are all built by the private sector, by developers. So I understand what Chris is saying about development. And I do think we're putting things in place to make sure that, you know, we've talked about apartments, we've talked about density, we've talked about traffic, you know, and we've got one of the most aggressive traffic construction plans with our new 2040 plan, our major thoroughfare plan that we've ever had. So there are some of those things that we're putting in place to take care of. But, you know, routinely I'll ask people, Tommy, when I meet with them, I'll say, how many people are from Rutherford County or from Murfreesboro? And I mean, routinely, it's less than 10% of the people I meet with are originally from Rutherford County and Murfreesboro. When I moved here in 1992, there were 40,000 people in this community. MTSU had a population of about 11,000. Mm-hmm. Now we're closer to 150,000 in the 25, 26 years I've been here, or 27 years now. So I think the part that I get more frustrated with is the majority of people who are in this community moved here. Mm-hmm. But yet there are a lot of people who are in this community that moved here that all they want to do is fuss about growth and traffic. Mm-hmm. When I tell people, hey, when I speak to people, I'm like, hey, the 4 or 5 of y'all are in a room of 50 or 60 people I speak to. Y'all can gripe about growth and traffic all you want to, but everybody else is just like me. We moved here. Right. And so, you know, I think what we try to do is measure how we continue to be a vibrant community. I mean, Governor Lee was in West Tennessee, or actually I think he's in West Tennessee this week with his cabinet talking about rural areas and the poverty and the lack of growth and the lack of development in your rural areas. So, I mean, all respect to Chris, I understand what he's saying, but you drive an hour of Murfreesboro and mm-hmm. you go to Warren County, you go to parts of Bedford County, you go to parts of Coffee County, and they would be dying to deal with the traffic and the growth that we're having in the community. Now, there are some good things and some bad things that come with that, but, you know, I would say be careful what you ask for if you want to shut everything down.
Hey, we got a question for you.
Well, go ahead. Weatherman's got a question. And Kira, he did answer your question, by the way. I see you on here. Please share the stream if you don't mind. If you won't do it for you, do it for me. Mr. Weathers.
Two-part question. One part, so there is something in place that if you build development, if you have so many lots, you have to have a turn lane. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it all, the traffic and transportation plans with any development are super complex on what you can and can't do. Now, I mean, I think we own up when we do things right, and we own up when we've made mistakes. I mean, this was way before my time, but I mean, River Rock and Cason Lane, that's a prime example of how you shouldn't do things.
You shouldn't put red lights, 10-foot apart.
No,
right.
And I mean, we've fixed those things, and I think we do things better. We don't build schools now on major thoroughfares. Right. I mean, we don't say we're going to build 3 schools within a mile of each other on Thompson Lane and expect that the traffic's going to be good. So now we build schools that are off of the main roads, like the one that we just opened up.
So the next question is, I don't think a lot of people realize, without throwing you on the bus, TDOT, it's not like you can pick up the phone and TDOT's going to make a difference in a road today.
No, I mean,
they don't realize how long you talk about that process, and that's really who is the majority, who you have to deal with. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Highway 99, Highway 96, Highway 231, Bradyville Pike, Thompson Lane, those are all state roads. Now, we've got a great partnership with our state officials, with TDOT, to be able to help move those projects along. But it takes a long time to get those projects going, because you're talking like Highway 99. You've got engineering. You know, just as hard as we're fighting for road projects in Middle Tennessee, there's people all over. As much as I like to think that Middle Tennessee is the only area that should be able to receive road projects, people in West Tennessee are trying to get road projects. People in East Tennessee are trying to get road projects. So it takes a long time to be able to go through engineering, right-of-way acquisition, funding, and construction.
Isn't it true by the time you get one approved and get it done, it's almost 2 or 3 years late? It's like then you need more improvements.
Yeah, I mean, the last number I heard, it took from the time start to finish, I mean, it takes anywhere between 10 to 12 years to construct a road. Wow. Now, the city, on the other hand, Fortress Boulevard, great example. Veterans Parkway, that's a 9.4 mile road that we built as a city. Rutherford Boulevard, Cherry Lane extension that we're working on. I mean, those are all things that the city can build, and we can do those really quick.
There's a question up there about the Cherry Lane extension. There's another question above that maybe he's talking about the trailhead back over here. I didn't see Chad McMurray. He asked a question. Can anybody read off what his question was? It's
home trail green.
I think what he's talking about is what's going on back over there. But whenever somebody's developing something and homeowners are trying to prevent the density, what does the mayor have to do with that?
Well, there's a process. I think I watched y'all's video where you had Brian Burns up here, and I respond to every email or text or phone call that I get. Whenever a development comes through, they meet with city staff. They meet with city staff to make sure that it's within the protocols and what we have for something to be developed. Once city staff gets comfortable with it, and look, city staff doesn't always get to say whether they like something or they don't like something. If you come and you want to do something with your property, there's property rights that come along with your property that we may not like it, but that doesn't mean that you still can't legally be able to do something. So they bring that, it goes through the planning commission, it goes through the planning commission process, and then when it goes through planning commission, it still has to come to the city council. So like Brian Burns' project out on in the Cason Lane area, that's not come to us. And so it would be really premature for me to be able to say whether I'm for or against the development when it's not even come to the city council yet. That's, a lady told me a long time ago, before a public hearing, you never make up your mind before a public hearing, because sure as the world, someone gets up and says something, I tell you, hey, I'm against this right now, and sure as the world, someone comes up and tells you something during a public hearing that you hadn't thought about, and next thing you know, you change your mind, and you got to go back on what you said to a lot of people. So,
but what can you, Mayor McFarland, do about that? Do you have any more power? These people that they want to call and bitch and complain or say something. What can you actually do about it yourself?
I'm one vote. That's now. If there's the opportunity where I'll say as a mayor, I meet with a lot of businesses. I reach out to a lot of different businesses that may be here locally or out of state. But as far as sitting down with a development on a residential neighborhood or something like that, you may have engineers and stuff that want to meet with us to get our opinions. But that's not my job to be able to sit and be pro or against the development before the process.
We've got a lot of process to go before it really ever hits you, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like you go through the city planning part before they ever really get to you.
Yeah, the city council members, we may have an engineer or developer that wants to meet with us on the front end just to say, hey, what's your opinion on this? Yeah. And we could give our opinion to say, no, I don't like that. I think that's too dense. That doesn't mean that they can't proceed through with that. But there's a process. You've got 7 planning commission members. 2 of those members are council members. Ronnie is a planning commission member, and Eddie Smotherman's a planning commission member. And then if it passes planning commission, then that's when we'll look at it. And we've got a great planning commission. That's a thankless job. No one comes to a city council meeting to say that they're for something. That doesn't happen.
Yes, I've been a part of it.
Trying to sell it.
Yeah.
All right, hey, I need to get through some questions to be fair to everybody, and they keep flying in. I did see where Ryan Denny did put one on that page. Thank you for the red light. I don't know if you had anything to do with the red light in my neighborhood, Ryan's neighborhood back over here in Puckett Station on Fortress. There's a neighborhood red light that came. Really appreciate that. J.R. Eastman, he's a mortgage banker here in town. He wants to know what is being done to stay ahead of the curve with regards to growth planning.
Well, I think we've talked about a lot of that. We've talked about, we've got a 2035 plan in place that we went through quite a bit of work. Now, that doesn't mean it's like any plan. You've got a plan that you put in place. That doesn't mean that you're going to have to switch gears and change things on that plan. But, we're talking about it's not a very popular subject within the development community, but we're talking about impact fees that we're discussing those.
Tell the average Joe out there, what is an impact?
An impact fee is where you pull a permit to build a new construction home, and there's a fee on there that specifically has to go to parks or public safety or road projects to be able to.
And who pays those?
In the end, the builder pays for them,
Up front,
but the homeowner pays for them.
right, when they buy the house.
Absolutely.
But what about these people like my buddy Chris Oxer? I called him after his post, and I'm like, developers pay for most of this stuff. They pay for the streets, they pay for the sewer, but people want to attack them.
Yeah.
Quite often, but
The developers are not the bad guys in town. I mean, where we're sitting right now, this was a developer who did this. Most everything you have in your community is built by a developer. Now, people will say, well, Shane, you're in the construction industry, and I'll tell you, it's harder on me being mayor of Murfreesboro, being in the construction industry, than it was before I wasn't mayor of Murfreesboro, because the staff does everything they possibly can to make sure that they're showing me no special treatment. Same thing with inspectors.
you're probably even more scrutinized. David Ross, a buddy of mine, he said, is it time for Murfreesboro, or isn't it time for Murfreesboro to have a full-time mayor?
At some point, I think that's a discussion that you want to have. I mean, I'll tell you, when I first got elected 6 years ago, I thought, how hard can it be? And I thought, I'm good at time management. I can handle it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time away from your family. Luckily, I'm able to manage a business, and we've got good staff. Now, a couple of years ago, when we were going through some of the things that we were going through at the city with staff members that we had, it was a whole lot tougher than it is right now. Mm-hmm. But the other part I would tell David is I would want to say, be careful what you ask for, because I mean, I'm living proof any Yahoo can get elected, but you've got basically $1 billion company is what the city of Murfreesboro is, and I think if it's done correctly, the city manager form of government is a very good form of government to be able to handle. It takes all the politics out of the side. There's no politics on how you run the business. There's no politics on who gets hired, who gets fired. There's none of that. And I think, look at Nashville last night with some of the votes that they had last night. There's no doubt when you have a full-time mayor that politics are much different. Now, I'm not going to say that we're not getting to that point at some point. I don't think it's right now, but I can tell you it won't be me being a full-time mayor.
Chris Oxer, we see you on here. Thank you for the comment. Phil Griffin, what's shaking? Everybody, I'm Good Time Tommy. We've got the mayor, Shane McFarland, on here. Please like, comment, throw any question at us. I'm going through questions where people asked earlier.
Here's a big one that just may not be asked, and I'm not trying to hog up this question, but.
Well, you're hogging them up with
But
me.
when you move the government housing from January Street to February Street, and then now we know how popular our downtown area is, one of the big fears you hear is everybody's gonna be moved out of the neighborhood they've been.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, hey, let me ask this, Weatherman,
Okay.
because Grandma Smith asked, when is the city going to set aside some land so the homeless can have a place to legally exist? I don't know if that's,
Well-
it needs to be somewhere in the city where they would be able to get their food sources, water, and public bathrooms like state parks have.
Well, I'm going out to Austin in October to look at a development that a group did in Austin that's more of a homeless community, where there's a mixture between tiny houses and, Joey Sherrill's the one who turned me on to it. So we're going out first or second week of October to look at that. I don't think the answer is building a homeless shelter in downtown Murfreesboro. I really don't. I think once you do that, it was just like the panhandling that we dealt with when our panhandling ordinance was too loose, and literally people from all over the southeast came to Murfreesboro to panhandle. So I don't think the option is to say, let's build a shelter and say, come one, come all. I think what our goal is to be able to partner with our outside agencies like the Journey Home, Greenhouse Ministries, a buddy of mine that I ride bikes with, Bill Richmond, he goes and does budgeting classes over at Greenhouse. Our goal is, are we ever going to end homelessness? No. There's people, I think, that are transitional homelessness, and there's people who are chronic homelessness that they're okay with it. But I think what we gotta be able to do is government can't fix that.
Right.
I mean, we don't have the relationships to fix that, we don't have the ability to fix it, but I do think we have the ability to be able to be leaders to help, like this community in Austin is done through a private developer. So we're gonna look at that, but when we talk about downtown, the big word now is gentrification of you wanna be able to.
Fancy
yeah,
word.
Take people out of their neighborhoods, and I don't think, there's a portion of that I think is okay, a portion that's not okay. Is it our job to go into neighborhoods that have been around 100 years and tear down houses and move people out? No. Murfreesboro Housing Authority is a great example of, they're getting ready to redo their projects that are over on Mercury, and redo their projects that are over by Oakland's Mansion. I mean, they're getting ready to build, the things that were built in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, where it was basically a project like what was on Bridge Avenue. That's not what you want. You want people to have single-family houses that they can live in. So I think we're working on a good way to be able to do that. But I mean, here's the deal, Tommy, and I'll people talk about me being in the real estate industry and being cozy to developers. I think if you talk to any developer, they'll tell you I'm probably just as hard as anyone. We've got people in downtown Murfreesboro who want to talk about, I mean, there's been no city council that has ever put the focus on downtown Murfreesboro like the city council that's there now. I mean, you look at Lytle Street, although one guy said that we spent $3.2 million on a roundabout, that's asinine. We spent $3.2 million on reconstructing Lytle Street, redoing water and sewer that needed to be done in the whole downtown area. I mean, we have put an emphasis on our downtown, and with that, I think y'all know, I mean, real estate's selling for $200 a square foot in the downtown area. I mean, it's hard to buy something. So, but we also have some people who don't take care of their property. I mean, we've got slumlords down there who've had rental houses for 20 years, and they don't take care of them. So if this means that, some of those have to go away, then.
Y'all have a plan to help put something in place, because that was one of my biggest things. A lot of those own them, don't take care of them, maintain them. Is there a plan to make our downtown area look?
Well, I mean, we passed the Highland study that we did about 3 years ago. We studied the whole North Highland Avenue, that whole downtown area, and then the bottom study. Yeah. We did all those together, which I think, I'm a small government guy. That's why I think if we have good staff, I step out of the way. But I mean, it's hard to argue that what the city invested in water, sewer, roads, those two studies, helping build the police headquarters, which, by the way, all the people who say that the police headquarters was $20 million over budget, that's another thing that's, you want to say fake news. That police headquarters.
I can say worse than that if you need me to say
that police headquarters ended up about $3 or $4 million over budget, but a lot of that had to do with IT and technology that we did for the entire city. Take a guess what the city's Comcast bill was going to be before we spent the $5 million to run our fiber all through the city. Take it.
It was going to be, Comcast got that special, 3 for 1.
Yeah.
I think my cable bill's $345 for this.
Yeah,
so.
we were going to be $1.1 million a year is what our cable bill is going to be.
What is it now?
Well, we ran our own network, so now we're on the fiber, and it's probably 3/4 of what that number is.
All right, let me try to get a few more of these questions in here because I know we don't have much time. Angela Michelle Johnston, when is something going to be done about the intersection of Medical Center and Asbury? Wrecks almost happen every day.
We would love to do something in that interchange, but Brandon Witt is a great friend of mine. Mm-hmm. Brandon's been super supportive with all kinds of things. But
now, who is he?
Brandon owns the Grove.
Oh, okay.
Well, Brandon owns that. The property's owned by the Williamson family, but there's not going to be anything done to that
So you can't just make the decision, we're putting a red light in without his approval? Or?
Well, no. I mean, I don't think.
What would that be called?
There's a
hostile takeover?
Well, there's a C word that comes with that called condemnation, where you're taking people's property, and we don't like to do that. But to be able to fix that Asbury situation, it really needs to be tying Wilkinson Pike into where Conference Center Drive is. If you notice right now, there's a red light signal at the Conference Center Drive that's about 4 feet off the ground. Well, that all in the future is shown tying Asbury Lane, that intersection on Medical Center Parkway is closed off. Asbury Lane goes to Conference Center Drive.
Back behind Thornton's?
Yeah, back behind the Thorntons, and you would come out at Conference Center. But to do that, we would have to take land, and the Williamson family's not interested in selling the property, and
Okay.
yeah.
We'll move right along. Thank you for all these questions. A lot of people are really pissed off about the growth. Could Shane McFarland stop all the people that want to move into our area? I'm seeing Jody Mannix. When is the unending building going to stop? Growth is one thing, but my God, this is ridiculous.
I would ask Jody if she's from here. That would be my first question. So if
Jody, you are, I don't know where you're from, but see,
yeah, look, I don't, you know, you
what
look,
can you do to stop it?
well, I mean, there's not anything we could do to stop it besides just saying we're going to, you know, build a wall around Murfreesboro, and that's just not. I mean, what Jody's complaining about is what every county in Middle Tennessee is dealing with right now. You know, Nashville is growing at a pace that they've never seen, but most of the people who come to Nashville can't and get a job. They come and they relocate to Rutherford County, to Murray County, to Wilson County. Some come to Williamson County if they can afford it. So, you know, what I would just say is I think there's ways that we can manage the growth better, and if anyone would follow what we're doing as a council, you'll see that we're doing that. There's a lot of things that we're talking about right now that will help manage that, but if you're looking for a community that you want the growth to completely stop, I mean, you know, a lot of people fussed about the tax increase that we had this year.
Let's get on to that here in just a second.
I mean, you would only, if you're complaining about the growth we have in our community right now, then I could tell you would only be complaining more if the growth stopped, because the services and what it would cost if that tax revenue goes away would be astronomically higher, and so would the taxes.
Okay, we do have a guy. He's bringing up we have an unlawful situation here in Eagleville. Is there anything you can do about Eagleville? Or
No,
is,
that's
okay.
the county. Go
That
ahead.
is county. Hey, you're off the hook on that one. Lee Engel, Kiesling, can we not approve any new buildings till all the empty ones are no longer vacant?
Yeah.
Sean Hackinson, our buddy, the owner of the Alley on Main, the sponsor of our show, he'd like to know where my set list is.
Sean and I are putting together a band. I played guitar when I play guitar. I'm not as good as I used to be, but we're going to put together a little band and do it.
I was going to be the lead
fundraiser.
singer.
Yeah.
Y'all be great.
Come on.
We would be. So, hey, if you've got any questions, I'm done on that page. If you throw a question up here, okay, Scott Abernathy, if you want to see a city that has quit growing, take a look at Memphis. My buddy Scott Abernathy, our preferred property manager, by the way, he owns a company in Memphis, so he could tell you all about that. So here's some things I want to know. Number one, I feel like there's a lot of people on these Facebook forums that say things that I don't see how they can make sense of what they're saying. How often are people just completely wrong on things that make complete sense to them, but they don't have enough data to make that decision?
95% of the time.
Is there anything that comes, when I asked that question, was there one thing that came to your mind?
Yeah, I think out of anything that's changed politics, in my opinion, for the good and the bad, you know, for the good, people can now instantly contact people, whether it's through email, Facebook, to let you know when you have problems like the lady about her pool. I mean, that's great. The bad thing is you've got several people, there's several people that I see on Facebook that if I had to wake up every morning and be as miserable and complaining about everything, that I would have to question why that I would want to live in a community, because it's the same group that is always mad about everything. I had one guy, we put signs down in City Hall to allow Purple Heart recipients or veterans to have a personalized parking spot. Mm-hmm. And I had one kid from, I don't think he lives here anymore, that made the comment that was like, why would you post something like this, goober? That was his thing. And I wanted to go why would you put something like that? Because like as an employer now with the city, anytime we hire someone, we go through extensive Google and social media searches. And is that really something that you would want to have associated to your name? So I think that's the bad thing with social media now is it's, I think it's, you lose where you can sit and talk to someone because like a lot of the people on social media, I would love to be able to sit down and talk with them and say, hey, what you're writing is not correct. But you can't do that through social media because it's sometimes like Lord of the Flies. You put a comment and then everyone's going to attack you on it.
You got to be pretty tough. Hunter, ask your question again. I can't.
You tell me Hunter McDonald?
Hunter McDonald had a question. Look that up, Stevie, if you don't mind.
You want me to do it now?
Go ahead.
This might have already been asked, but do we have plans for a big corporate headquarters? And how did the tax increase affect the corporate headquarters looking at Murfreesboro for their location?
I don't think, one of the things that we've been working on is we're setting up an economic development department inside our city. That's something we've wanted to do for quite some time. If you look at the tax increase, for example, if you look at the Target building that we had, that is here, they were paying $4,000 less in 2018 than they were paying in 2009. So the tax increase that you've seen, and most people don't understand how your taxes are even calculated. Most people are going to be paying more than what they were in 2018, but it's not going to be much. So, we have got three major things that we're working on with different organizations right now, and there's not been one discussion on your taxes are too high. Most people come into Murfreesboro and they see for a $225,000 house that you're paying $600 or $700 a year in property tax to the city of Murfreesboro, and you're like, good Lord, that's cheap.
Hunter asked another good question. Do you think the new mailbox Custer boxes will affect home buyers? I don't know if a lot of people know what that means, so you might want to go ahead.
The federal government or the USPS has put in a thing now that you can't have on any new development. You can't have individual mailboxes anymore.
You have apartment mailboxes.
You have basically a bank of mailboxes. From a financial standpoint, I get it. That in a community, the mailman goes through, they go to one spot, they spend 30 minutes putting everybody's mail in a cubicle, and they don't have to hit item by item by item, So from a financial standpoint, I get it. I just hate that we're losing the feel of each individual home having their own mailbox. That sucks. But it's hard to argue that it's not a way that you save money as a government. That I don't think you can argue against that. So I don't think it's just something else we get used to. It's like recycling. We've got this trash issue in Murfreesboro that we've been working really hard on, but it's a generational thing that, who would have thought with these things? My dad's 65 years old, and my dad is great with using his phone now. It just takes time to.
Just took him 10 years.
That's right.
Roy Frazier, our preferred insurance agent. Roy's asking a question. I don't even know if you can speak on this. I don't know what he's talking. Ask about the new Costco. When, where, I don't know if there's any information like that you can provide.
Yeah, I can't comment on that.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you, Roy. Sir, another question from you.
One of the things and I'm a lifelong resident of Rutherford County, and so my wife is, and what I don't think a lot of people realize is, why wouldn't you want to live in Murfreesboro? That's the major question. We've got great schools, we have great jobs, we have great amenities, we have interstate access. Even though we're overcrowded, we're nowhere near like Nashville is. So why would you not want it?
Well, and I think that's the thing. I tell people, we talk about social media and all those things. Look, I signed up for this. I love what I do. There's not a day that I've, even going through a tax increase, there's not a day that I woke up that I don't enjoy being mayor. Because, the thing about being involved in local government, when you make a decision, you see that right then happen. There's been a rumor that I was going to run for Congress, and I have no desire to go to Washington, D.C. I enjoy living in Murfreesboro. And so when you go to talk about that, you don't want the things that you read on social media to really impact your view on how good of a community that we live in. I mean, there are good people who live in this community.
And you don't get rattled much. That's one thing, because I see people make a lot of jackass comments that would piss. You know, the other day I did this ad, and this one asshole made a comment on it, like making fun of my ad, and I was looking for his number to call him. You don't get rattled by stuff.
No, I mean, that's just part of the job. I mean, it's, you know, it's part of what you have to do. I mean, you're going to get people who say nasty things. You're going to get people who don't agree, and that's their right. I mean, that's the great thing about a democracy. But at the same time, I mean, I lay my head down on my pillow every night knowing I'm doing everything I can to make Murfreesboro a better place. And I mean, here's the deal. You know, even though I'm not probably considered young anymore.
You're 35 years old, man.
No.
You look like it.
Yeah, I wish.
That baby face.
He does.
You just don't, you know, Murfreesboro is a progressive city now. And one of the things that we've always, you know, when somebody tells me, hey, we've always done it that way, I'm like, wrong answer. You know, you got to look at better ways to be more progressive and to do things. And I think as a city, that's what we're trying to do.
The last thing I want to end up on is the downtown gentrification, because I love the idea, and this may sound insensitive to some people, but I like the newer looking homes where maybe 2 homes go up on one lot or more. What do you think is going to happen down there? Also, when could you see higher buildings being built downtown?
Well, I mean, you've got the First Methodist project that was one of the first things.
What is that?
Yeah, that's one of the first things that I did when I got elected. We saw that we already owned a third of the block where the old First Methodist Church is, right across from what used to be B. McNeil's. I think it's the Tasty Table now. Used to be the
Good
old
restaurant. That is good.
Yeah, used to be the old Mid-South. But you know, it took us a while. We didn't want to see that turn into something that the city wouldn't be proud of. So we long story short, we sold that property about a month ago, and you're going to end up seeing about an $80 million development that goes down there.
What is it going to look like?
They're working through the architecture now, but you're going to see a mixture of retail, nightlife, office space. You're going to see a boutique hotel or a flag hotel that's going to go there. They're going to put 100 rooms downtown, condos, flats, different type of things. So I think that's, when we talk about the downtown, the one thing that we're missing in the downtown is rooftops. Not everyone wants to buy a 100-year-old house. Mm-hmm. Not everyone wants to buy a fixer-upper. I mean, there's a lot of the millennial generation now, and even Gen X, they want to buy a house that they don't have to maintain. And so I think that's what you're going to see downtown, that you'll see continually. I don't like the term gentrification, but you're going to see different things come in that downtown
but that's what
area.
the word is. I mean,
What's our limit on height?
Right now it's 40 feet.
Okay.
Is what
how
the
many
limit
stories is that?
It's 3 stories. I mean, by the time that you figure you've got an outdoor area, or, you're like an outdoor area. So I mean, I think what you're going to end up seeing, we need to be able to promote young professionals, and we need to be able to promote empty nesters to be able to live in the downtown area. And that's what people want, but a lot of people don't want to have to buy, a house that they're going to have to spend the time to renovate. They already want to buy that done. And I think that's one of the reasons why, Brian Burns has been successful with some of the stuff he's done. I think that's why, I can't remember her first name, Rowland, maybe Misty Rowland, has done like some...
Anna Rowland.
Anna Rowland.
Anna Rowland, yeah.
She has done
She started a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
she's from Woodbury.
Yeah, she's done some really cool stuff. I think that's why...
My fiance, she's got a store downtown. Steve.
Yeah,
she don't own the building,
Yeah.
but...
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had... My office is downtown. It has been since I
It's a
started my
beautiful
company.
place. I run by it some mornings.
That's why, I decided I wanted to be in our downtown and invest in it. And that's what we'll continue to do.
Well, look, we've been going, we got one last question. I got to get the mayor out of here.
The old courthouse, Mayor, what's gonna happen with that
You talking about the...
on the square?
The courthouse, I think Mayor Ketchern in the commission, they've got a good plan in place that, that'll be here, I think, as long as any of us are here. I think they're getting ready to go do some of the remodeling on there, or remodel it. But I think as far as the old judicial center downtown, I don't know what they're gonna end up doing with that.
Hey, Roy Frazier brings this up at breakfast, the status of the Murfreesboro Electric Department.
Yeah.
Does that have any interest in buying Horde property? Or?
I don't know about the Horde property. I mean, Roy, I will tell you, I think the council's gonna discuss it. There is, I believe, an offer on the table for Middle Tennessee Electric.
Will it go through in your opinion?
I think that I think the nature of small distributors, which is what Murfreesboro Electric is at some point going away. But I really think, man, what we're gonna have to talk about, and this is probably not a popular thing, one of the main things I get asked about is why we have two school systems. There was a reason that the city schools were seen as superior to the county schools. I don't think that's seen anymore. We just spent $41 million on a new city school, and there's no way we're going to be able to do that again in 2 years. So I think finding ways that we can better partner with the county to be able to do that. I think we'll discuss that. I think Middle Tennessee Electric, Murfreesboro Electric, there's going to be that'll be a great discussion.
All right.
There
Hey,
is one question you didn't ask, you gotta ask, and this is what everybody's talking about, is and I'm gonna give you an example, $200,000.
It's gotta go at 140.
In the $200,000 house in Rutherford County, in the city, is about $2,000 a year. How much more is that gonna be with this new city tax?
Oh, a 200,000. So take Rutherford County aside. I can't
Right.
say what the
Sure, I'm talking city.
No, I mean a $200,000 house in Murfreesboro. The average house in Murfreesboro with this tax, which is about $230,000,
Yes.
the average tax increase was $18 a month.
Okay,
And so with that $18 a month, you're getting a world-class Parks and Recreation department. You're getting police protection, an ISO rating of 2, which there's only a few cities in the state who have that. You're getting a phenomenal school system. So you got all these things that you get.
great thing about it.
Yeah, and I would tell you it's the best value that you've got anywhere in this state when you compare. I mean, if you compare what the taxes in the city of Murfreesboro are to other cities that are our size, Clarksville, we're like 9th in the state in our tax rate. And on top of that, we're the fastest growing city in Tennessee, one of the most progressive cities in Tennessee, in my opinion, the best place to live in this state.
look, we have a lot of questions that keep pouring in. We need to get you back on here one day if you don't mind. But I do want to give I really appreciate you coming on here.
Sure, man.
And none of the questions he didn't even know what he was going to walk into. So I appreciate you being able to come in and really face any type of heat or any questions. That's one of the things I really like about you. So thank you for coming in here. I got to let you get to your next appointment, but thank you so much for coming.
I'll come back anytime.
We'll bring you back on here. Josh, let's shut it down, friend.